will highlight some of the things that Dr. Joe Thompson's highlighting at ACHI, but I would encourage you all to follow their postings, their newsletter, and their databases. They are stepping it up, as is UAMS in some of the database gathering, and Joe's playing a bigger and bigger role in all that. He's becoming, I think, a trusted source more so, and Kathy Grisham, I see, is on. She can vouch for that, and so we still have a great resource, and we'll see how available he is beyond this particular Wednesday. He just had a conflict this Wednesday, and then we never have known how far to go with it, so we just kind of gone week to week with it, with him, or month to month actually. So either way, we're very excuse me. Either way, we're very grateful for his contribution, and we'll be indebted to him for many years. And I think Arkansans, Northwest Arkansas, has gotten to know an entity through those forums. I think there's probably been 1,500 views, combination of all those forums, where people gotten to know this great little entity called ACHI, which is the kind of the policy board for recommending how Arkansans can have optimal health, kind of policy oriented, and 45 people. So we're always grateful to that organization. Always will. We will be for years. And Kathy Grisham, we ought to get you on that board. He's looking for a Northwest Arkansas board member. So if you're not completely ready to retire, I'll be glad to nominate you. So you think about that. Let's start with Jeffrey Allison. Jeff has got some insights I think we're all going to appreciate. It's one thing to, plan for your business and get it back open when you're going through a pandemic like we're going through, and you think about what happens if you have a positive case. But I don't think you can flesh out all the details, can you, Jeff? And
no, not at all.
Dumas of the waffle maker had some cases, had 1, then 7, then 11, then 15. And it was one heck of a ride for him. He never knew whether he was going to be able to run any shift, any given day, because he didn't know how many people were going to show up that, were concerned. And he runs 2 shifts, and he just, you didn't know if he'd be running 3 lines or 5 lines or 6 lines. And you just wait till that shift starts and figure out how many people you have and figure out how you're going to run it, and everybody's moving around. It was just, so when Jeff had a positive case at Bordinos, we got Dumas and Jeff together on a Sunday afternoon, and Dumas told us what a wild ride it was. And Jeff was so well prepared, as prepared as he could be for his situation. And just a little background on Jeff: he's has a great day job, career-wise, representing a very well thought of furniture manufacturer for the restaurant industry. So he's a head of sales for that organization. And then Stuart Nance, one of our forum members, introduced him to Joe Fennell, and Jeff closed on that property February 15th or so, give or take a day or two. So now he's an entrepreneur, and he's an owner of a great restaurant. And of course, the pandemic stuff, the closings and all started in March, and I'll tell you, you get to understand and appreciate people with adversity. And we're going to see 2 of them today as our guests, and when we get to hear from Jeff, and then Robin. Robin's Northwest Arkansas fashion event, and then another entity that she stood up, she's going to tell you about. And she's found a way to get into the arena during a lot of times you can't get into the arena, right? Because you're kind of halfway closed. And but I think people who want to deliver value in organizations like Jeff's, that needs to, wants to and needs to deliver value, have done a beautiful job of getting in the arena as much as they can to deliver the value that they want to deliver. Robin's case is a little different, and I'll let her tell her story, but she's found a way to create some activity in the arena that you're going to really like hearing. So with that, let's let Jeff tell us a little about what all he'd like to tell us. I know you're busy through this period. You're back open, and we want to hear more of the details so the others can appreciate what that's like, and maybe even can learn from it in case they have to deal with that kind of challenge.
All right. Thank you, Tim. I'll try and keep it brief. I've got another meeting, unfortunately, in about 20 minutes. So I'll run through this. So I purchased Bordinos on February 3rd from Joe Fennell, which I'm sure many of you may know. Everything was running great until March 16th, somewhere right around there, when obviously everyone's worlds were flipped upside down. We ended up closing the restaurant on the beginning of April, and stayed closed for 2 months, opened back up on June 1. We were allowed to open up, I believe, on May 11th, and we decided to hold off and learn from some others, and also just didn't feel it was the right time, given some of the uncertainty that was out there. And we were able to learn from some other groups, like Rope Swing and a few others that opened earlier than us, and opened on June 1, taking every precaution imaginable, exceeding what the Arkansas Department of Health had recommended. And things honestly were running pretty smoothly. We were seeing increased sales week over week. Things were going pretty well until 2 weeks, or a little over 2 weeks ago, I guess. We had an employee that tested positive. They woke up and had no sense of smell. We're immediately able to go and get tested for the rapid testing and get the results back same day. Found out they were positive, so we immediately closed down the restaurant. Had a few prepaid catering events, small catering events that week. We had to cancel on and help arrange for them to find a new caterer. We had to have the entire restaurant sterilized. We had an outside company come in and do that. And then the biggest issue was getting the entire staff tested and get the results back before we could reopen. So I learned a little bit through that process of who seems to be faster, learned a little bit more about how the testing is done. And there's rapid testing being offered at a couple of places. One, I'm being the Kara's Health Clinic in Fayetteville. Unfortunately, the rapid testing is not quite as accurate as the full scale testing that takes on average 3 to 5 days. But between the health department, getting tested there and then getting tested at Kara's clinic, we were able to get everyone tested and had results back on just about everyone within 5 days. We had a couple people that got tested a second time after doing the rapid testing initially, just to make sure. And so they were out, but we were able to reopen a week after we closed, and had to navigate, bringing people back. It scared some of the staff, because it's not that it wasn't real, but now that they knew somebody well that had it, it became even more real. But we've been very, very lucky that the one individual that did test positive had no symptoms other than a loss of smell, feels completely fine, and he will be back to work on Thursday. So we decided to be very transparent, immediately put it out on our social media channels, disclosed that we had an employee test positive. We were lucky in that it was a manager, so they were not in the kitchen and they were not having a lot of interaction at tables. So we don't feel that any guests were exposed, and to our knowledge, no one was, which was a huge benefit. And it also was nice to know that no other employee tested positive, despite people working around this positive individual for a couple of days. So, wearing a mask, taking proper precautions, social distancing and whatnot did work. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell what we went through.
Yeah. And then what's your current thinking on tests and how it's getting better, right? You can get results back quicker. Is that kind of going to not be as big of an issue? It cost you a week of business 2 or 3 weeks ago, right?
Absolutely. Initially, they thought that you'd have to close for 14 days and quarantine everyone. The health department has lessened their stance on that and has said just you need to get everybody tested, although that's not a requirement by the State Department of Health. They just recommend that. Testing is becoming easy, I guess, quicker, and it's easier to access. Kara's clinic is the only place I know of offering rapid testing, which is great for fast results. But the health department had a drive-through testing facility. It took me 3 days to get my results. I waited 5 minutes to get my test, so it was not a long, drawn-out process. I talked to the governor, actually came in to eat on Friday, and I talked to him, and there are 20 more testing machines being dispersed throughout the state, which should continue to help increase or decrease, I guess, the testing time. And from my understanding, the plan is to continue to invest into those testing machines and add additional facilities. So hopefully we can reduce the time to get test results back, because ultimately that's the key factor. Is if I don't have the staff that's tested negative to reopen, that's longer that I'm closed. And right now every dollar counts. So if we were closed for 2 weeks, it would be detrimental to our month. I mean, 1 week is hard enough. 2 would have really been tough.
Yeah, and just not knowing whether a business is open or not, it kind of matters, doesn't it? You get back quickly, and then all of a sudden you don't remember it as a consumer that you were down. You get back in the habit. Well, so you've been pretty resilient. You continue to get open as quick as possible. You're working on some outdoor activity. You want to touch on that? Well, the upstairs is going to be a cool deal.
Yeah. So with the city allowing the entertainment district out, I forget the exact acronym, but the outdoor drinking initiative, where you can buy, or beverage initiative, you can now walk around the Dixon Street and surrounding areas with alcohol, as long as it is in one of the city cups and purchased from one of the vendors participating in the program. So we've started selling alcohol to go, and then additionally, we're going to be able to rent 2 parking spaces right in front of Bordinos and build a deck to have 4 outdoor tables there throughout the fall months, which I think will be very, very popular, and also probably increase some traffic flow to Dixon, because a lot of people will enjoy eating out on those patios and being able to kind of, I guess, have a little bit of excitement with their dining experience and get some sense of normalcy, whatever normal is nowadays.
Yeah, cool. Your staff, plenty of staff?
Yeah, staffing hasn't been much of an issue. We had, especially with the additional $600 to unemployment ending, I'm pretty sure a majority of my staff that we have not brought back would come back in a heartbeat. We just, unfortunately, with the current capacity limits, we don't have the amount of hours to bring everybody back. Don't have quite the demand. So hopefully, if we can all work together to get this thing curbed, sometime later fall or in the spring, we'll be able to get back to full capacity at some point. And I understand that many of our employees, they're not going to be able to wait. So they're going to have to get another job, and maybe they'll come back whenever we can hire them back. They may not, but as of right now, we haven't had any staffing issues, and everyone has been very, very understanding and really appreciative of the way we've gone about doing things.
Right. Yeah, you're developing a reputation to be thought of as a very fiduciary kind of restaurant. The governor's gotten comfortable coming there. I got to visit with him a little. He just wanted to talk to people, but he really can't, right?
Yeah, he's come in twice in the last month. The first time I was able to talk to him for probably 30 minutes or so, and really let him know what concerns we have, what issues we're having, and he was very receptive to what I had to say, and I was very appreciative of that. And he has, complimented us, not to brag on ourselves, but he has said in the restaurants he's been out to, he said, "You're hands down doing the best job of any restaurant we've been to, and we really appreciate it." And he's trying to get the rest of the state and get the Department of Health to get everyone to model their restaurant precautions after ours right now. So I've worked with the Department of Health a little bit, providing some information to them on the steps that we're taking, and hopefully we can have an impact on a statewide level.
Good. Jeff, I know you got to go, but anything kind of tips for others that you would caution or recommend that might have a consumer-facing business?
Sure. I mean, I think a couple parts of it. One, this thing's not going away anytime immediate. So the reality of the situation is that most retail businesses are going to have an outbreak like this, and are going to have to overcome some obstacles. And so I think first and foremost is just being transparent, letting your consumers know that you have had a case, and being fully transparent about the whole entire situation. I don't think that a business is going to be judged because they had an employee test positive, because I think everyone knows that's inevitable at this point. But how you handle the situation is going to be very, very important in regaining consumer confidence and keeping their trust. And so that would be, I'd say, first and foremost, the thing I would do would be transparent, and then having some sort of plan, whether that be that you have, a second shift that you can bring in that hasn't been exposed at all. Unfortunately, in a restaurant that's only open for dinner, that wasn't a thing we could do. But I've heard of other restaurants that have a morning shift and then they close for 30 minutes, bring in an entirely new shift so there's no cross-contamination amongst people. Mm-hmm. And obviously in retail, it's significantly different. But we're all in this together. I've learned to lean on resources that I've had, that I've been lucky enough to be connected to, and I can't thank those people enough. I mean, I don't pretend to know everything, and I'm always there to reach out to others if I think they may have an answer, and everyone has been just incredible in helping provide that information as we've asked.
Yeah, and probably knowing where you're going to test would still matter right now, right?
Yeah, I mean,
having that thought out ahead of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that there's supposed to be wider access to self-tests coming up soon. There's a blood test that you can test yourself at home. I'm working on trying to secure those, but they're still pretty scarce, and they're working on pricing to make it more affordable. But then just knowing anybody that owns a business right now should probably get familiar with where in Fayetteville they can get employees tested and tested quickly. And right now it seems that Kara's clinic and the health department seem to be the fastest. Washington Regional has taken 10, 12 days. And quite frankly, in our business, that wasn't reasonable.
Okay. Kara's clinic. That's not community clinic. That's Kara's clinic. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay, Jeff, thank you very much. And I would encourage everybody to do some takeout or go, if you're comfortable, dine with Jeff. It's as safe a place as you can find to have a meal, and a very good operator. We're getting to see just how good a leader Jeff is. So Jeff, we're glad you're in the community. We want to support you and help you get to the other side.
Thank you, Tim. And I did have one other thing I just thought of. We have been very lucky at Bordinos to have very little pushback on the mask mandate and the restrictions that have been imposed on restaurants, not only from the state, but then the self-imposed restrictions that we have put in place. We've really only had one issue, and that unfortunately we did have to kick someone out that thought this was a giant conspiracy and hoax, and looks at themselves as an activist to try and wreak havoc at local businesses. Her words, not mine. And it's unfortunate that we do have individuals like that out there. I think unfortunately people are going to have to run into that and just handle those situations the best as possible. I've talked to some other primarily restaurant owners that they're not comfortable having to stand up to a guest because they're worried of the social media backlash if they throw someone out for not following the rules. And the way I looked at it was it's free publicity for me. If you want to cause a stir on social media because we were taking precautions above and beyond what was recommended, to me that's going to attract a customer that I actually want in my restaurant. And so I looked at it as good publicity. So far, nobody has done that. I have heard some restaurants that have been torn up on social media because they required masks and had some other health measures that they required, and the owners were very, very worried. And maybe I'm ignorant to say it, but to me, go right ahead, because that's going to be free publicity that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, we're going to see some strange behavior through this period. Seems like everybody's getting a little more uptight all along, and people are lashing out in ways. I saw someone the other day doing it at another business, just on a drive-through. His order wasn't right. He came swinging. He was just yelling at them, and just a lot of pressure, a lot of tense, and a lot of pressure on people. So, as Todd Wood says, try to forgive the unintended slight. But that was pretty intended, so you don't have to forgive that one. That's
right. But, and unfortunately, when you talk about drive-throughs, my day job, one of my customers is a Burger King franchisee that had a drive-through employee that was shot and killed this last week because someone was upset with them about the added time it was taking to get their order. due to some of the precautions and ended up murdering one of their employees. And so it's a very, very unfortunate circumstance, and some people are clearly not acting in the right mind, and then others are just not taking it serious, which is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. It sure is. Jeff, thanks for your time. I know it's valuable, and you're doing a great job.
Thank
You're
you.
doing awesome, Jeff.
Thank you very much.
A great sponsor of Restore Humanity through your dinner. Very, very well done. You're right, Sarah.
Thank you.
Well done.
Robin Atkinson is the leader of the Northwest Arkansas Fashion Week. It was, and then out of that is a new organization that she's helped create, and they're doing some wonderful things. She knows how to navigate and add value to the marketplace in a very unique way. So Robin, why don't you take it away and tell your story?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to share a presentation, if you wouldn't mind. Oh, wait, just hold on. Let me do this in the right order. Just so you guys, we're a newish company. So I think it's nice for you guys to be able to see some of the branding, essentially. So can you guys see that? Is it a full screen? Just yes. Okay, great. So I'm the Robin Atkinson, CEO of the Arkansas Arts and Fashion Forum, which is also the Northwest Arkansas Fashion Week, a sort of dual branded organization that functions as both a for-profit with Fashion Week and a nonprofit with AAFF. And we exist, this is very wordy, but basically we have a mission that is fourfold, which is education, focusing on incubating the fashion industry, incubating designers, providing opportunities for education, for runway shows, mentorships, sewing courses, things like that under education. And also we have, as part of a pillar of our organization, a specific focus on representation, diversity, inclusion, and equity within the creative sphere, both art and in fashion. So, we are an arts organization by all intents and purposes. And so when we had to cancel Fashion Week on March 12th, we sent the email out to the entire audience saying that the spring shows would be canceled. We were one of the first shows to cancel. We just realized that there was no way that we could keep a group of 200 people backstage safe and an audience of 400 people front of house safe under the circumstances as they were. So we had quite a juggle between March 12th and March 20th. This date is actually wrong. It should be March 20th. But we took a week off. We tried to figure out, I did a lot of moving money around, figuring out how to keep the staff on board, figuring out the thing that we were all figuring out during that time, which is, how do you keep everything floating? And then, because we have an organization that focuses specifically on things like educating people how to sew and working with fashion designers, and because we're specifically in the sewn goods space, I saw an article in a newspaper in Oklahoma that was saying their local hospital was requesting masks because masks had disappeared from the supply chain in not only Oklahoma, but across the United States. And I sent a text to my team at 7 in the morning, sending that article saying, do you guys think we can do this? And then I just decided to launch it at 10 a.m. the same day. So we launched the Matchmakers Challenge, which was essentially an open call to anybody on our network that knew how to make masks. We worked with a designer to create a pattern that we thought would fit the needs of frontline healthcare workers, essentially, in the beginning. And we iterated on that. So we developed the first few masks, worked with the hospitals. We specifically worked with the Northwest Hospital system to create our mask patterns. But we put this out into the world and said, if you can sew, make these, send them to us. We will deploy them into the world. And because we have access to people that know how to iterate patterns and design, this was something that was pretty easy for us to put into play. And people jumped on board. We were on all the news channels. We were in the newspaper. They put us on KUAF because I think at that moment, everybody wanted something positive. What could you be doing? Everybody else is shutting down. Like, we were able to step in and say, we have an idea for something you can actively do while you don't know what else to do. And turns out people, a lot more people know how to sew than I thought, which is great news. And so we basically became a clearinghouse for all these donated masks. And we started working one-on-one with some of our designers to fund them to get a few more. And we focused specifically on frontline healthcare workers because, as you know, there was a lot of back and forth about whether or not you should wear a mask. Was a mask useful? The CDC said you don't need to wear a mask. We knew from the very beginning that as this played out, it was going to become apparent that the only way for this for transmission to slow would be to have universal masking. That's just something I have, my dad's a doctor, my brother's a doctor. Everybody in my family but me is in medicine. So, I'm having conversations with them. We're looking at examples of countries that have gotten these kinds of epidemics under control, and the thing you see every time is universal masking. So I just made a bet that, regardless of what was being told to us at the time, it would not be a bad idea to continue making masks. So far, we've been able to donate 10,000 masks to the Northwest Arkansas community, which for a little upstart arts organization, I think is not nothing. And there's 4 ways that the masks have been made. So the Tyson Family Foundation jumped on board very early and funded the production of around 3,700 masks. And I should speak about the way that those masks specifically got made. So part of what AAFF has done over the last 2 years is create a relationship in Springdale with both the local Latinx community and the local Marshallese community in order to teach them the skill of sewing so that they can then use that as a transferable skill for entrepreneurial opportunities and or to get involved in fashion as a creative outlet. So we just so happened to have already gone through several sewing courses with a cohort of 12 Marshallese sewers. And so when we decided to ask for funding to make masks in-house, we already had 12 people that we could put to work on a contract basis, coming into the office, social distanced. Our office is gigantic. It's a funny situation in Springdale, so we're able to space everybody out appropriately, and also provide income to people who had maybe lost income or were, frankly, some of them have never entered the workforce. But so the Tyson Foundation was really interested in both the jobs creation aspect of the project, but then also the fact that masks would be getting out into the world. So 3,700 made with the Tyson Family Foundation. Arkansas Community Foundation then gave us one of their larger grants. So we were able to do another, this is from a couple weeks ago, this project has wrapped. We made 3,800 for that program. We had 2,700 came in from the community, which is just 2,700 masks made by people at their homes. So I think that says something about how the community really, really attached to the idea of having something to do. And then we also we launched a program where you could buy masks from us. We would set you, essentially we set a marketplace up where we would set you up with a mask sewer. You'd buy through us, and then they would donate 1 mask to a hospital because of the purchase. So we put a couple more people to work that way. So as you see, the in-house production was, we talked with the Department of Health, we talked with local physicians to figure out how to distance everything, how to sanitize everything. It was a bit of a risk to decide to bring people in-house to do it, but we felt that because the need was so big, we would go ahead and do it in-house so we could control, quality. And then we launched, after all that, we launched a program called, it's #GetYourMaskOn, because we knew that in order for masks to be adopted for universal masking, there was going to have to be a concerted public service campaign dedicated to normalizing the use of masks. Masks are awful to wear. None of us like it. It feels weird. It looks weird. It's uncomfortable, and unfortunately now there's a political stigma around it. When we began the campaign, it wasn't so much a political stigma as it just felt very uncomfortable. So what we did was focus on taking really high fashion photographs of people wearing masks and releasing them through our social media channels, hiring some influencers to wear masks, post videos of masks, really just trying to get the conversation about masks into the public. We were a little bit ahead of the game. Now, obviously, it's the only thing people talk about. And then as an organization focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion, we had, the sort of second crisis hit, which was the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement at the beginning of June. And so as we, as an arts organization, had pivoted to create masks on the one hand, we also knew that because of who our constituency is, because of what matters to the people that we program for, we had to also directly speak to the importance of addressing the Black Lives Matter movement. And so one of the things that we did was donated hundreds of masks to protests, because we knew that people were going to gather. There was no way that wasn't going to happen. And so in our opinion, the one thing we could help do to mitigate risk is make sure that there were lots of masks available. So if you were in that crowd, you would have the opportunity to stay masked. And along with that, we've also done a lot of programming, public speaker events and things like that to talk about the issues of equity in Northwest Arkansas. And so that's basically it. That's that's our big mask adventure. I'll stop there and just say, we as an arts organization, that first 4 days after we canceled Fashion Week, I was terrified that this was maybe the end of what we did. As an organization that focused specifically on large scale events in enclosed spaces for our main fundraising opportunities throughout the year, this was, we lost $50,000 just of donations to AAFF when we lost Fashion Week, but we also lost, a $200,000 event. And so we were panicked, to say the least. And I think rather than wait for our funders to tell us what we could do, or wait for our other arts organizations in the landscape to make a move and decide what arts organizations would be doing, we just jumped in. We knew that we had a specific relationship to a community that could be activated maybe only by us, and we just did it. And then the same thing happened when it came to talking about the importance of bringing inclusion and equity back to the conversation with Black Lives Matter. And in that process, from what I've heard, my stakeholders have said that they're pointing to us in terms of arts organizations in the area that you need to be looking at for how to react quickly, responsibly, and stay in touch with what your constituent needs. Because in two giant crises, your audience needs something that they didn't need before. And, you can sit around and say, is it appropriate for an arts organization to have conversations about equity, or is it appropriate for an arts organization to talk about mask wearing? And I think the answer is, if it has to do with the well-being, both the well-being of the community, but the well-being of your audience, then yes, it's appropriate to talk about. So that's that.
Yeah. What a great leadership to navigate all that. We said in the invitation that Tommy Van Sant always encourages us to be in the arena, to get in the arena, and that it's everybody, we think we're in the arena, but all of a sudden we couldn't get in, right? And you found a way to get in your arena. The people who activated, that made some of the masks, did did they feel good and fulfilled about some of that, maybe, you know?
Yeah. So our relationship with our mask makers has been really amazing on two sides, right? So the people who were donating them, that were sitting at home sewing and donating them, they were mostly women, let's be honest, of a certain age, who felt very disconnected from the world because they had been locked in their homes. And so all the feedback we got was like, this gave them a reason to get up in the morning. This gave them a sense of purpose. This gave them a reason to, be shopping online for different fabrics, and really sort of gave them something to look at and to focus on when everything else was getting really blurry. And so I do think that those people have become lifelong, a lifelong audience for our organization.
Right.
For the mask makers that came from the Latinx and Marshallese community in Springdale, we had already been building a long-term relationship with those communities, and the Marshallese mask makers that we had come in, those are long-term relationships that we are still working with those folks as we move forward. Obviously, what's happening in the Marshallese community is horrific. The number of people from the Marshallese community specifically that have died because of COVID is unbelievably disproportionate in terms of Northwest Arkansas's death rate. And because of that, we have in some ways switched from requesting people. We don't request people come into the office now for this project specifically. We have let some people take machines home so that they can make masks at their own speed from home. Obviously, everything is sterilized triple times before it gets taken to the hospital. But just as a way to keep people having the potential to earn, but then also understanding that everything is turned upside down. So we're really trying to be less of an employer and more of a supporter. One of the things that we've also started to do is help fundraise for, honestly, just to help buy groceries, because it is just such a slow motion train wreck happening over there.
Well, we love how you have the pulse on things, and we look forward to helping you and supporting you and learning from you, because you're in the trenches learning things that the rest of us wouldn't know. I think Sarah, Jade Terminello's got to be smiling about Robin said she was close friends with Jade and keeps up, Jade keeps up with her. Jade started this organization with some other people, and I love how you've taken it. You're already created a culture that you wanted to support fashion that's being designed here, right? That was already a big part of your emphasis, and that was starting to happen. Yeah, so I think we can look forward to that.
Yeah, the great thing is only really half my staff had to focus on masks. So very quietly, the other half of my staff has still been at work on the incubation of the fashion industry in Arkansas. We've just sort of we've put the PR on the back burner a bit, because we really want to time everything correctly in terms of how we launch things. But we do have a designer residency program that's launching right now. Essentially, we'll be sending out the press release about the first designer in residence this week. And that program is, if COVID hadn't hit, that program would be huge news in and of itself. So we're excited for that. Obviously, the first round will be mostly virtual, but we believe that with the right balance of the creation of a workforce and the development of talent, we can build something like a fashion industry here. So more soon.
If you're in charge, if you're leading it, I believe it too,
Yeah, I think you guys are doing a really good job, Robin. I mean, I was originally a part of Fashion Week as just one of the nonprofits, but just to see how it's morphed and changed, and really to see how you've handled this most recent, because I'm on your newsletter and all your social media and all your stuff, and it's just been really neat to see how you've pivoted and focused on what's important and been able to do it within your sphere of influence. Has been really cool.
Thank you.
You've done a really good job.
I appreciate that.
Are you guys going to do the fall show? Okay.
We're doing something. Something is happening. I will not be putting 400 people in a room in October.
Right.
I'll say that's
yeah,
not happening.
Like our Winetopia event, it was exactly the same time as you guys are having yours, and we've already decided to make it virtual because it's like 400 people in a barn. Like, what are you gonna do? It's just not.
No. Well, you don't have to worry about us on that weekend. Nothing should be happening that weekend in October at all. So
not for us either. So
and then you and I have to get on, we have to talk about scheduling as we move forward, because I think that we've double booked on you before.
I know. It's like on the same, I know, because we have like really good corners. We need to talk about this.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Absolutely.
Robin,
make a note for 2021.
Yes.
You've been real active in Engage NWA, which has worked with the Northwest Arkansas Council, has the leadership pledge out to help deal with, make sure that there's not racism, and educate, and then respond in the way we conduct ourselves as leaders. And saw you on the video at the council meeting. That was good. Good work. You and Margot and all of everybody. That's great work. What can we do for you?
I think that, yeah, send some money. I think the thing that we would really benefit from over the course of the next 18 months is for other business leaders to start thinking seriously about the ramifications of what it would look like if fashion did have a hub here, in terms of production, in terms of marketing, in terms of retail. Because, we, right now, people we talk about fashion as a business in Northwest Arkansas, and people are like, oh, that's nice. But that's little, and it is little, but because of the way the supply chains broke in March, and because of the way that so many people are talking about the need to create new jobs, reshore production, there's a whole massive energy going towards the idea of making things in America, and we are really, really cheerleading for the idea of sewn trades being reintroduced as a potential either contract opportunity, like contract work, right? You can sort of do it as gig labor almost per project, or launching in and trying to build some real facilities. So having people understand the potential growth in that industry and cheerlead with us, that in and of itself would be huge.
Yeah. I like that. And you and I talked about, when we started in 2000 trying to get entrepreneurship moving, we couldn't find 6 companies to present to venture capitalists that were worthy. 6 ventures in the whole state of Arkansas. And you see what's happened over those years. So you can build that, no doubt. You can do it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Robin. And I'll make sure when I talk to Jeff Allison, and I call him Jeff Atkinson. If you feel
that sounds perfect.
On that. So we have 10 more minutes. Robin, please stay with us, and we'd like to open it up to anybody who'd like to discuss anything. I'm going to first call on Brian Waters, who has a gentleman that comes by and smokes cigars in his store, and he has a young man that's got the gentleman has the women's clothing store with his wife, and he's selling clothes online for like 50% off or something. He's got a membership to it.
Yeah, Dylan and Amy King. They own 3130, which is on 412, right on the edge of Springdale and Tinytown.
Yeah.
On the south side of the road. I see Robin nodding her head. Amy would be so happy.
They are, sorry.
No, go ahead.
They occupy a great space. They're one of the only boutiques in the area that focuses on extended and plus size clothing. Most boutiques in the area sort of cut you off at a size 12, which nobody is. So they have made a really good name for themselves in that way.
They're wonderful people, and they run great business. They've also got Dylan is one of the 4 primaries in Wellington's, which is right there next to it. Nice high-end fine plate dining. With a cigar room in it, I might add.
And he described, he's trying to get to a place where he and his wife, where they can sell, if you're a member, at 50% off, okay? 50%, that's a good number. If you're a member, and he gets kind of, odd lot. He gets some lots of, he said he could get all the product he needed, but he's, it's when it's gone, it's how he's sourcing it, but it's, fashionable. And he thinks he can get it down to 50% and just, he can live with the monthly fee of the membership, which is like $10 a month or something, but quite an interesting model. I think that young man's pretty sharp. I think we're going to see that model get some legs, Brian.
Oh, I can't argue with you a bit. Dylan's got more smarts in his head at less than half my age than I've got now. So he's a good guy. Him and Amy are fantastic.
I like how he thinks, and it'd be great for be a good thing to know about if he gets the kind of legs that he could get for all of you and your spouses. Don't know that he's going into men's clothing, but
actually is. They're actually expanding the shop as we speak, and they are doing the same thing in men's fashions that they're currently doing in the ladies.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting world we're in. Phil Brandon may be available to unmute himself and tell us how everything's going at Rocktown. But the number 2 Googled place to visit behind Pinnacle Mountain is Rocktown. This gentleman right here does a lot of tours. And how's everything there, Phil, in that consumer-facing business?
Going pretty well. Yeah. We switched to our tour model to where now it's reservations only. So you have to go to our website and actually register, and we've reduced the size of the tour group as well. But we're getting a fair amount of tours still, and we've spaced out our bar to where, in our tasting room, to where it complies with the guidelines, and we're all wearing masks, and we've had our share of people that have come in and gotten mad because we made them wear a mask and all that kind of stuff. But we are continuing to sell quite a bit of hand sanitizer, so as well as vodka and whiskey. So we are very lucky, and things are going as well as could be expected in a pandemic.
Yes. You were one of the first ones to adopt the hand sanitizer. You jumped on that quickly. Well,
yeah, it was a good thing there. It was, extremely busy in March and April and May, but trailed off, but it's picked back up again as people are going back to school and that sort of thing. And we're getting a lot of orders from schools and that sort of thing. So it's been good.
Phil, everyone on the call pretty much is an entrepreneur. I thought you did a wonderful job of trying to figure out how you could continue to grow your capacity. You got to have a lead time in your business because you want that whiskey to age some years. Keith?
Yes.
How's your business going?
It's going well. We are thankful that we're able to, we still have clients certainly that have been impacted by we're an IT services company. We have offices in Northwest Arkansas and Central Arkansas. I'm the managing partner for the Northwest Arkansas location. We certainly have had clients impacted by this, and we try to help them through this. We're able to do 95% of what we do remotely. So we, in early March, sent all of our people home and are still working from home and able to support our clients. We too adopted the mask thing early. We ordered 1,500 KN95 masks in late March. And because we're working in healthcare clinics and hospitals, and so we certainly needed to have protection for not only our employees, but our clients. So, the bad actors don't slow down in COVID. They probably even ramp it up more. So a big focus that we have with our company is helping our clients stay secure and protected from malicious actors, cyber actors. And there's that space is just continuing to explode, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But business has been good, and we'll be glad when we get through this period, certainly. And I would say that like all of us, we're feeling kind of the angst of not being around each other as an organization where we meet together face to face. So we're doing a lot of Zooming, a lot of Teams meetings, just to keep us all on the same page. We're 110 employees, and again, scattered across the state of Arkansas. And thanks for letting me join you guys today. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, and you would compete with like a Quadrivium or yeah, people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the leadership group came out of Axiom, is that right? Some of you.
We did. I joined Adafio Technologies 10 years ago, and we were actually 11 employees at that time. And like I said, we're at 110 now.
Yeah.
So I was CEO for 10 years. We just, beginning of this year, transitioned the CEO role to another Axiom fella who I worked with at Axiom. He's just doing a great job. His name is Kenny Kenley. I don't know if any of you guys know Kenny. He's a wonderful fella, and he's wearing that hat now. And I'm looking to spend more time in Northwest Arkansas. I actually tried to buy a house there a week and a half ago, but we didn't put a high enough bid in, unfortunately. So we're still looking.
You know, it's we hear that more and more. We had a CEO forum before this meeting, and one of the people in the call said that his wife's a realtor, and said she had a home that had available one day, had 7 offers, and 6 of them were more than the listing price. You know, you hear a lot of those kind of things.
That was probably the one I was in.
Well, it's a good market.
Yeah.
Thanks to a lot of hard work over the last 15 or 20 years of some people like Uvalde and others, Lindsay. Tom Porterfield, if we were going to vote right now among us, Tom Porterfield might get CEO of the year, Porterfield and Company. What's going on in your business, Tom?
Oh, I don't know that I would get CEO of the year for sure. But I've learned a lot, and you know, COVID's been good for us, being in a remote workforce model. It just kind of accelerated what we already did, and got a great team. Just have a lot of things coming together here at the right time. There are some business segments in our economy that are doing quite well, and we're fortunate enough to have relationships in a couple of those areas that are giving us some really good prospects and new customers as we grow our model. And you know, what we do is we serve 4 markets: franchisees, pharmacists, franchisors, and not-for-profit organizations. And we have 4 specific products kind of developed geared towards, you know, those markets, a little bit of overlap in some of them. And, you know, just count myself really fortunate to have a great team, have some really good customer relationships, and just kind of be in the situation we're in. So, you know, being able to help people, that's really what we do in the end, right? We help people, and that's you know, what we're doing.
And you've adopted every technology piece that's out there that helps deliver a better accounting product, it seems like. So you're kind of on the leading edge of that. It's 12 o'clock. I can't see everyone that's on the call, but would anybody else like to say anything before we wrap up?
I just wanted to say one more thing to Robin.
Yeah, sure.
This year, we're switching our virtual event to October 1st. So just to let you know, for this year, in 2021, we'll discuss.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
We won't host any giant Zoom events on October 1st.
Thank you. It's a Thursday too. We're changing it up, so
Yeah.
thank you.
And then Tommy's Night Out has followed your advice, Sarah, and then it's going to do a virtual event. It's official. You think you've been advising them some, so thank you for that. Jay Cranford, good to see you. Kathy Grisham, Kimberly. So thank you all for being on the call. That wraps up the open forum. Let's go to the cigar store and have a cigar. What do you say? It looks pretty relaxing down there. So no, we won't do that, but we'll think about it. Meeting's adjourned.